Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we're talking about Phantom, Requiem for the Phantom. And this was my choice, but not by choice. This was chosen by the random wheel. All right. Just want to throw that out there first and foremost before we really dive into this.
Yeah, let's call it like it is. You decided that you wanted to torture us.
Oh, most definitely.
Like, I wonder what I could do.
Oh, yeah. That's totally what I did because that's something I thoroughly enjoy.
It is, though.
So it originally aired in April 2009, ran all the way through September same year. It was 26 episodes long, 26 grueling episodes long. The producer for it was Genco. Its studio was B Train. It's based off a visual novel, and the genres were action, drama, Seinen, and thriller, which kind of action, a lot of drama, definitely no thriller.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really didn't feel like thriller was there. It definitely felt like it was trying, but it was rough.
It was rough is an understatement. At the very end of the series, I actually remembered that I had seen this once before and purged it from my memory, only to have to revisit it.
Oh, man, only to have to revisit it. Yeah. Yeah, for your own fault. So the premise is they steal this kid actually, I don't even think it's the premise. They didn't steal anybody. Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
And apparently you can kill people.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time perfectly sums it up because killing people for kicks and giggles is totally way to go. And handing something off to a total complete random stranger when you're literally about to get shot also always works out, especially in a back alley.
Not just about when you're about to get shot, it's when you're being hunted.
By an assassin.
You don't even know. Just this weird person in a mask chasing you. You know?
Well, I mean, if it's a reporter and he's handing off some documentation to some random stranger, he knows that obviously it's an assassin or a trained, hired professional killer coming after you. It doesn't matter what it is. You're not going to hand it off to some rando person. You're going to throw it in a mailbox and hope for the best because that's what you got.
Well, unless he's like his, where he was stuck and he knew he was going to die. And it's very weird. People die so fast in this anime. And do we actually have a body count?
No, but I'll tell you this right now. I wish I had the mad skills of Zwei being able to just like float and ghost around.
Yeah. Yeah. His ultra instinct.
Yeah. The main character, he's given the name 2, which was just lazy. The other main character, Ein, is given the name 1 in German. All right. Again,
Eins, zwei, drei.
Yeah, which is again lazy writing. And then to accompany it, you had bad acting, like dry bad acting. And then you had some really hokey music as the icing.
We are making it sound way more interesting than it was. And we tried both. Like, I tried subbed at first, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be better dubbed. And then, no, they like, if you've been in the dubbed scene for a while, there's like 20 people they use, I feel like. And they didn't use the mainstream actors. They used the mainstream adult actors, I feel like. These people who were voice acting didn't feel like they were used to long parts.
Well, I mean, I get it.
It was frustrating.
Frustrating doesn't even begin it. But like, I get like why they weren't used to long parts. But
if they would have condensed this to 12 or 13 even, it would have been much better.
Yes.
Because you don't need 26 episodes to do. I want to even almost call this a Romeo and Juliet-esque type of thing. And when the very first episode I was watching, which they never touch on again, I was like, okay, this reminds me of a mixture of Ghosts in the Shell and we're mainly just Ghosts in the Shell. There was another one it reminded me of. I'll remember it later. I'm sure while we're talking. I can't think of it now. The animation style.
No, Ghost in the Shell was still way better. Way better. I mean, like in animation style in general, the Ghost in the Shell was way better. And in
The way they draw the people, though.
even then, like you can't compare this to Ghost in the Shell, because Ghost in the Shell was leaps and bounds better than this in terms of art style and animation.
All I know is what my first impression was. And granted, you are a much more articulate viewer, let's call it, because you've been watching stuff a whole lot longer than I have. You actually introduced me to Ghost in the Shell before it was made into a real crappy live action. And way back in the day, I was like, wow, this is cool. This is interesting. And it feels like the drawing style didn't advance quite to that level yet. But the facial structure and the way that they moved the people around made me think of Ghosts in the Shell. It's not as fluid as I was hoping it would be, but it was definitely...
Okay.
It's like they took a still image. It's like they took a still image and tried to go from there.
Well, being that this was done in 2009, when this was done, if I remember correctly, it's like on the cusp where it was still like kind of half and half. They were doing like CG mostly and trying to get that all worked out so that way it looked a little bit better. And at the same time, still doing some weird hand drawings too for it.
Okay. Well, okay. So I think I figured it out. I think I figured a way to say what this whole thing is about. It is an experiment where you take some rando off the street with good instincts and you train them to be an assassin. You don't give them a choice. You mentally break them. Yeah. Which is what happened. You do memory altering drugs, memory erasing drugs even. And you forge this person, you break them down and build them up into what you want. And it deals with the mafia. It deals with assassinations like we've been talking about. It deals with backstabbing in the mafia, in the mob and syndicates and worldwide just debauchery. And the thing I don't understand is they depict LA. Now, I've been to LA, but the way this anime depicts LA is it's a free-for-all, everyone's shooting everybody, and it's no real big deal. Like, if you hear a gunshot in LA, yeah, fine. I will admit that it's not necessarily rare, but it's not something people ignore.
Well, I mean, like, it really just depends on the area where you're at in LA, whether or not. I mean, like, if you're in South Central or in straight up Watts, you hear gunshots going on, you're like, whatever. Hey, got nothing to do with me. Right. I mean, yeah,
I get that. You're like, no, I'm not part of this. I'm going to keep doing this. Just walk slightly farther away than normal. No, I get that. And it is, I get that. But to the extent that they're doing it, no.
Well, yeah.
I found it hilarious. I found it hilarious how when they're watching TV and they're like, yeah, we just massacred 30 people and the news is going, a random shooting happened here. And he's like, they believe it? And Ainz tells Zwei, yeah, they'll believe anything so long as it doesn't disrupt their normal lifestyle. And I'm like, I don't know if this is from 2009. I don't know if this is just a introspective into how people are, or like a fantastic a fantasy thing that might be coming true with the self-centeredness that's going on. But like a few of the anime we've seen, I feel like would be a great like thesis on the human psyche, on people, but
not this. Not this.
No. And the funny thing is, a few times in this Ainz tells Zwei his acting's gotten better. And I'm sitting here going, no, it hasn't.
It is
neither is yours.
Yeah, it's the exact same.
It's like at the end, they were just like, is my check signed? Can I go yet? No. Crap.
And,
you know?
And I understand completely where you're coming from for that, because that's how I felt. And when they introduce another main character where they're like, hey, this person has a particular set of talents, you might say, the same ones that I may have. It's like, all right, well, now you're just getting weird. And you're talking about like a 10-year-old or something like that? 12-year-old?
Yeah, well, see, I could understand where he was coming from. So essentially, there's one character who I despise above all else in this whole thing. They did a really good job of portraying a character to dislike. And it was, what was it? Slaymaster?
Scythe
Master.
Scythe Master. And then later on called Giuseppe.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I think that he got to name himself.
I'm pretty sure.
So,
well, the dude was just weird and creepy as it was. He adopted a kid, brainwashed him, and drugged him. Same thing with Zwei, who was drugged and brainwashed, so that way he didn't remember anything. Zwei actually did eventually get his memory back, and at the very end, Ein still started getting her memory back. Maybe, possibly, kind of.
Well, she wasn't old enough to have memories. She was adopted when she was seriously young, and that was the excuse they gave for her never having actual memories to begin with, and being able to be molded into the perfect killer. Whereas Zwei, they used random memory altering drugs. By the way, they touched on this, and I don't think it was ever actually looked at. Truth serum is a thing here. And it works, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been a thing in a lot of movies and shows.
They could have saved so much time. By putting a truth serum to the people they suspect, rather than going, I suspect him. I'll let this play out.
Yeah, but you just cut out 14 episodes worth of plot and structure.
And tell me that wouldn't be better.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it wouldn't be better. I'm just saying you're getting rid of these people's.
It sounds like you're saying it'd be better.
Better is not a strong
relative term.
No, not a strong enough term. Better is not strong enough for what would become this show had you used truth serum, which we have seen in other shows that are out there.
Yeah,
just like we saw in Charlotte. Just one series ago.
Yeah.
They used truth serum, but that's neither here or there. That is the way the cookie crumbles. That is the way the phantom rolls. They don't need no.
Oh dear Lord.
No truth serum.
You pushed that so hard into this conversation. I thought you were part of the actual show.
Hang on. Wait. You're not done. I'm not done. Okay. Because
okay.
The phantom knows when someone's lying.
Oh, dear Lord.
Well, isn't that what he says? Isn't that what he says? He says he knows when someone's...
They do have an outro called Transparent. They literally repeat the same word so many times. It's such a messed up ending. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So I was texting you through this to try to make my viewing experience more pleasurable. And I remember, so on here it says at the end of episode 7, let me actually read this because I don't, the things are all blending together now. Just want to keep a marker here. By the end of episode 7, I have a sincere hope that they'll make it out on their own, probably without the mob. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. And I remember that's when, so this, you go from Eins and Zwei to Zwei being manipulated and I assume seduced. For the record, how old is this kid?
Unknown. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he's old enough and he's definitely out of high school because he's out.
Are you sure? Because he goes back in high school at the end.
He's backpacking through the U.S. with his parents' permission. I'm assuming he has a passport. They don't show his age in the passport, but he does have a passport and he is out there on his own.
He's at least 12.
He's at least 18. There's
no way.
He's at least 18.
And he's a very young looking 18.
No, duh.
Somehow.
Well, you're forgetting we have a 12-year-old that in 2 years grows 8 years in time frame. All right. So she goes from 12 to 18 in a span of 2 years. So that's the thing.
No. That right there was to help with the lolly complex that he might have had. That's why. We all know that people mature 20 years basically in the course of 2 years that you don't see them.
Right. Well, he did have a lolly complex. I mean, he decided to just have a conversation with her while she's showering and then pops in the doorway with a weird, creepy smile. Yes, that wasn't a creepy spot at all.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of that? You're having a conversation, and it's like, I need you to pull me back to the way I was. How you doing? How's that shower going?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. There was some questionable scenes in here. I realized it was meant for character building and to show remorse. And then they're like, I can tell that it burdens you every time you kill. And I'm like, okay, so the way I just said it, the way I just acted that scene out, the way that I verbalized that, I could have been hired for this show.
Sold to the man in the blue.
You right? And oh god, the only lady of color. What was her name? Lizzie. This woman, God bless her. She was the only sane person of the bunch. She is the only voice of reason.
Yeah, she was. And honestly, I think her acting was just a step above everyone else simply because her speaking parts were just that much shorter.
She was more devoted.
Yes.
No, honestly, so the way that you look at it, I say honestly as if everything else was a lie. But if you look at her acting, her role in the whole ordeal, she was the voice of reason for everyone. And then she goes up to against this crazy chick who ages like nobody's business, who matures stupid fast to wear lingerie on a motorcycle. Who does that? And well, it wasn't lingerie. It was like a bustier and leather pants.
Yeah.
Still.
And she's the Phantom after the Phantom's Phantom.
She's the new Phantom. So Phantom is the title given to the best assassin in Inferno's ranks. And Inferno is this mob organization that essentially is killing off all of the old families to absorb them. And Scythe Master, for some weird reason, is very good at building assassins, brainwashing them and using them. And he uses people who have a higher than normal will to survive or instinct. And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like that whole montage of him working out, and it makes sense for his progression. That made perfect sense to me. What did not make sense is he goes from being normal human to having greater than normal reflexes, having greater than normal ability to figure out when the perfect time to pull the trigger is. And what I will say is, when he was teaching the little girl how to shoot, his advice was 100% correct. You don't whip it out and fire it off. You pull it out, count to 1 because it'll give you your steadying, and then you fire. That is the appropriate way to quick draw when you are in a situation. Calm, collected, make sure you go for what you're aiming at. And other than that, like floating through air and being a horizontal phantom that can beat bullets for some weird reason, and when you can run through a literal hailstorm of bullets and not get hit but take out 15 people, I mean, you're only one target. They're all aiming at you. I'm almost 100% sure someone's going to lead just a little bit, but nobody ever does. You're not that fast. No phantom, no person is that fast to go faster than your bullet.
Hey, look, let me spell something out for you here real quick. All right.
She does not have plot armor. She's got plot goo that lets the bullets just slide off of her. That's obviously the lotion that Scythe Master was rubbing all over her. It was
no,
plot
that's
goo.
only on Ein that he was rubbing that lotion on creepily all the time.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Dear Lord.
This show is creepy and unusual with how the characters are, and at least in that regard, I feel they did a great job in making one of the hated characters hated with how creepy he is with Ein, and I'm assuming he was the exact same way with Cal. But
yeah, I can. Oh no. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, like that dude is seriously creepy. Like in general, I mean, like so seriously, he has Ein come over and he starts lathering up. He's like, "You're a beautiful weapon." Taking pictures of her. It's just like really creepily. It's like, dude, you've been doing this for years, man. How much creepier can you get? And I'm glad they didn't show it for the 2 years Cal was with him. But dude's creepy. I mean, like at least they made you hate him.
Now, I do have a question though. If you think about it rationally, could you take someone off the street, deprive them like he did, Could you form them into a killing machine? Is that a premise that is fundamentally wrong? Yes, but is it something you think you could do? Not you personally, but do you think it's possible?
Oh, I'm almost certain that it is done to a degree within certain countries around the world or with government agencies to some point.
Because I've heard about like people in the military, they need to break you down in order to build you up to what they require. A certain uniformity, let's say the Marines. A friend of mine's in the Marines. He went in with a certain personality. He came back. I wouldn't say he lost that, but there's like a switch he can click to where that personality goes away and it is all business. And it's great for him. But imagine having that, but there's no switch. Would you be able to trust the person that you trained?
I don't know if I would be able to trust that person, but Scythe obviously does.
Yeah, to a crazy degree. But he's a maniac.
Yeah. Well, okay. One of the things that really kind of irked me about this show, it's like around episode 10, I think it was. Like when it could have ended, okay. Like when they could have killed Scythe and been done with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have Zwei just wandering around playing shadow games with one bullet, being weird, and at the very end points his gun up the air, yelling Scythe, and then aims. And how Ein can move that fast in between from way behind all the way up to get in between him and a bullet is beyond me.
I know. So she was behind him, right? He was like meandering. She obviously ran. He was so deadpan focused on Scythe Master that when he raised his gun, he stopped, of course. It took around 3 seconds. We know from history that they are able to move at stupid speed. Mm-hmm. She could probably clear a football field in 10 seconds, which a normal person can do. I want to throw that out there. I can't because I'm a little fatter than I used to be, but I used to be able to do it in under 10 seconds. So if she is able to do that, which I imagine, given her super phantom abilities, she could clear 200 yards with minimal effort in the amount of time that he has the gun pointed directly up. So that's why I was like, okay, that seems reasonable. Kind of unlikely, but reasonable.
Kind of unlikely is yeah, we'll let you have that. I'll let you have that. We'll go with me having never been able to clear 200 yards in any kind of 10 seconds. We will let you also stick with that because this gut here knows I've never been able to do that. At least not with easy breathing.
One day. Yeah, I was going to say. I was labored. I want to throw that out. I was breathing hard, but I could do it. Not the 200 yards, but the 100. That said, what I did like about the anime, because I got to give it some kind of praise, because I don't want to be that person that always sees negative, you know? We watched it. We spent a lot of time on it. Well, not a lot of time, but like a good, if you sat through it and powered through it, you're going to nap. It's kind of boring, but you're going to spend 13 hours of your life in this. You got to have some kind of good thing out of it. The one thing that I can pull out of this that I genuinely appreciated was 2 episodes where they gave a different viewpoint than what we watched before. Out of those 2 episodes, I would say there's maybe 15 minutes where I was like, this is great. Everything else, I was like, I've seen this already. This kind of blows. So out of those 13 hours, I appreciated 15 minutes.
Okay. So out of that whole time, I didn't appreciate any of it at all. Like, honestly,
the artistic value.
I'm being super critical here. So,
yeah, you are.
I appreciated the character development for Scythe Master. I did not appreciate the acting that went with it or any of the other characters, but the character development was there. So I can appreciate that. They did have the character development, although for Cal, they kind of just like skimped on it a lot. But
yeah. Well, I got a question though. Do you think that if they had better voice actors, could this have been saved? Slightly different dialogue, delivered better.
Yes. And changed the hokey music. The hokey music kind of killed it for me too.
Well, not just the hokey music, like the sex sounds that were coming out halfway through that belonged nowhere.
So in case you didn't know, Ein, Zwei, and Cal all had their own specific theme song, I'm Awesome music. Ein had hers,
Yeah.
Zwei had his, and because obviously Cal became a bombshell after 2 years, they decided to have her moaning or have moaning sounds playing in the background because that totally makes sense, which is why I'm glad that they decided to not show what happened between Cal and Scythe Master and how creepy he was, because you can only imagine that's her part of her memory moaning from how Scythe Master was.
I hope not.
Me too.
I seriously hope not.
I'm projecting here, of course, obviously.
Possibly. But here's where I remembered what I was talking about earlier, where I said it's a cross between two anime. So this, in my opinion, was a cross between Ghost in the Shell, certain anime styles, and was it 48 Days? The mobster one we watched?
91 days?
96 days. 91 days. Yes.
Dude, that was your choice and you even loved it and you can't remember the name of it.
I did. I've seen a lot. These eyes have been blessed by this time. So,
sure.
Imagine if we were born 100 years ago, we wouldn't have anime.
Look.
Granted, we would have other things, but I am super happy to have most of the isekais we see. I genuinely enjoy 90% of what we're doing. This is part of the 10% we're talking about right now.
Well, here's the thing, man. I mean, like we just talked about some of the older episodes before we even started recording. How could you not remember? We specifically mentioned that one. That's bad. I mean, like, I think we need to go back and change that rating just on that one alone to a lower score for you.
Negative, sir. Negative.
Are you sure?
The lower score is going on here for sure. But yeah, so 91 days and this. So the story style of I can't even do that because this is even worse. This looks like an idea that someone with money decided that they watched a lot of adult films and wanted those voice actors here. Well, but again, I put it to you, if they had slightly better story, it's like not better, slightly different story and slightly better actors, would this have been more enjoyable?
Yes, I think it was. Although there were a couple of voice actors that I do remember hearing from other anime series where their particular voice did suit that animation. So
I know what you mean. Like not necessarily like with the adult part of it, but like if you would have taken those voice actors and put them in different roles, I think it might have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
At least on the American side. Unfortunately, I'm not that well versed with the original, but like there's only 2 or 3 people I can totally 100% call out of that type of field. Frieza, Goku, and Naruto. Granted, they're all very popular, very well known, but whenever I hear them overlap somewhere else, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. And what they did here is they had very familiar sounding voice actors that just didn't fit.
Well, a lot of them felt like they were supporting characters and they were put into a major character role rather than their normal side character where they don't have as many lines to fill in, or maybe they just weren't comfortable with being the primary main character. They had to portray themselves with a very particular...
Maybe that kind of affected my view of this anime too, because who was the main character? Every time in my opinion, I've always seen a character come on the screen in here, and it feels like they were told that they were going to be the main character. And so they're trying really, really hard, but that leaves no side characters here. And the way they interchanged plots, if you will, and the frequency in which the hierarchy changed, it feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like they read the whole story, found out what their end character was going to be like, and tried to be that the entire time.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And in terms of how everything basically ended, it was kind of a disappointment too at the same time.
Oh, geez.
At least it kind of ended it.
Kind of. So the entire, like, I would say last third of the anime, so Zwei is trying to get Ainz, or Aaron, the name that he gave her, to smile genuinely, and she just won't. And her biggest thing is that she has no memories to go back to. She has no life to go back to. And she's trying to sacrifice herself for Zwei. She's trying to sacrifice herself for Zwei because she feels that he is her reason for living. And even if she dies, the fact that he's alive is enough for her to continue on. It gives her a feeling of being more than herself, I feel like. And it's kind of nice. But at the same time, he's like, look, you got to do something for yourself. And earlier, way earlier, they find out that she does have a dream, or she does dream. And you assume that her dreams are semi sort of memories. And in the last, 1 to 2 episodes, they find out that she's Mongolian and she was adopted from an orphanage.
Yeah, it's not even the last 1 to 2 episodes. It's like the last 10 minutes.
Okay, fine, last 10 minutes.
Including the credits.
So, yeah, yeah, that was... Anyway, yeah. Let me get through this because I'm not happy about that. So in the last 10 minutes, credits included, you find out that she was adopted and that she is from Mongolia because apparently her dream is a bright blue sky, a heavy gust of wind, and green all the way around. And someone says those words almost exactly. And so they make it to this area and she's like, this is what I was missing. And she reaches down to pick a bright purple flower with all the petals there. And she doesn't. And this person's driving by and all you hear is a, and you're like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, but you only hear one.
They're still talking.
You only hear one shot.
You only need to hear one.
Right?
You only need to hear one. Because don't you know, if you're not the main character, one shot anywhere, even in your foot, will do you in. So they're still talking. The thing is, they're still talking for a good 20 to 30 seconds after this one shot rang out. It's almost like they knew. Weird how the top 2, in my opinion, assassins in the entire world let their guard down. And then that's the specific point in time that her reason for living dies. And she looks up and smiles. What?
Well, you assume. What? You assume that he dies because he just collapses over and she just has this goofy look on her face. And on top of that, she's also laying down with a goofy ass smile on her face. So
she's not laying down. There was no laying down.
I could have swore she laid down at the very end.
She stood up.
After the credits, I could have sworn she was laying down.
I might not have watched that far because I remember her standing up, turning around, smiling, and then disappearing. So upon further investigation, I'm wrong.
Like the little time jump there, you know, it's just like, hang on, wait, let's pause real quick. Okay, hang on, wait. Listen here, fool. I'm telling you, she was laying down at the end. No, she wasn't. Damn it.
So I remember, I apparently didn't watch that far because I was like, oh, this is over. Click. Deservedly so. But so she disappears, like fade to black, mid-credit scene. And I guess after the credits, they keep repeating, I'm becoming transparent. Transparent, I'm becoming transparent. And then they show her on the ground, like in a cross, no blood, but in a cross formation. And then it pans up to the field. And then you hear transparent.
With a single bullet casing.
Yeah, you see it focuses on a single bullet casing in the lower right-hand corner. So you and I have both assumed for our peace of mind and for a bookend, if you will, that one bullet took them both out.
Sure. Which
we've never seen happen in this anime yet.
Sure.
But we're going to assume for our sanity that this is a thing that we're going to agree has happened.
Sure.
Does that make that next person the best assassin in the world, taking out the top 2 in one bullet? Like, I'd be bragging.
I wouldn't be bragging.
I don't know about you.
I mean, like, yeah, that guy got there awfully fast and knew where they were going to be at that exact point in time for them to be able to be killed with one bullet. That's magic.
They're becoming transparent.
That's magic.
They're becoming transparent.
Promise me you'll never sing that again.
Geez. Sing what? Sing what? Oh, man. Well, I'd like to end it here if you don't mind, sir.
Not at all.
So I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to say 3 stars because it was not horrible, but it wasn't the best I've ever seen. It wasn't even close to being the best. It's not worth the 0 we've given others. I will say that because it did have a cohesive storyline, but it is a waste of time in my opinion. I'm glad that people got paid for doing it in 2009, but I don't know, maybe it was just a different viewing experience back then. Maybe because the field was so narrow and the options were so slim, this was just it was good enough then. Now it wouldn't be good enough. So I'm going to give it 3.
Giving it 3. I'm going to give I'm going to give it a 2 simply because the studio and producer for this were both, in my opinion, I expected more from the studio and the producer. The studio B-Train.
So what you're telling me is they've actually done better stuff since then. They've learned from their mistake.
No, they did better stuff before that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So in my opinion, have you seen Dot Hack Sign, the animation? Okay.
No, I haven't. I have not seen that.
Okay.
However, it was the game Dot Hack Sign was a foundation for our friendship.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that one's the foundation for our friendship. I would say
Pokemon Go. No.
Nah, it's I would have to say, man, Final Fantasy VIII was like definitely the pinnacle for both of us right there, man. Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, that was gosh. I want to play that again.
Me too. No, they did the Dot Hack Sign. They did Noir. I'm a fan of the Tsubasa Chronicle. Both the seasons. I'm sad that the funding for that series actually cut because they left it with such an open ending because of the lack of funding for it.
Well, they wanted to do this instead, obviously.
No, actually, the Tsubasa Chronicles. I mean, I would have cut the funding for that episode 1. I'm just saying, you know, for Phantom of Requiem for Phantom. You know, God knows everything else. No, but Noir, they did that. They even around the same time, just like soon right after that too, they did the Halo Legends movie or series, miniseries. They did that too.
Really?
Yep. They did Mad Lax.
I'm a huge fan of the Halo Legacy ones.
They did the 6-episode miniseries Batman Gotham Knight. They were a part of that for one of them. Yeah.
So why did they just were they just bored one day? No, this doesn't take a day. This takes a whole season and a half.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
There's a good year that went into this, and nobody thought this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So no, they have done quite a few series, and they've done some really good ones, in my personal opinion, that were really great. At least from my memory of how they were great. God knows if they really stood the test of time. We'll soon find out, maybe.
I agree. If you have a fond memory of them, we should definitely add them to the to-do list because I've never heard of them. And if you already have a good memory, meaning you liked them, I think I might hate them or at the very least give them a 2.
There you go. Yeah, that's all I can ask.
At the very least, I think I would like to give it a shot just because you give it such fond praise. So, wow, 2. Okay.
2, and you give it a 3.
Interesting. Yeah, it's one of our lower scoring ones. As I said, I don't like reviewing stuff that's bad because it does not bring me joy. And doing this podcast with you it's a high point. I appreciate spending time with you here, and it's just fun for me.
I enjoy doing it too, and I mean, like, I hope everyone else that enjoys listening in on this, they have at least an enjoyment listening to our shenanigans and talk and the pains we put each other through sometimes, you know?
Well, this next one, I've never seen before. But I was recently watching a YouTube video and this came up and I just had to subject you to this.
Okay.
Because the short 3-minute video was "Why am I watching this?" I think that was the title. And I don't even know how you can draw like this. So the anime is a movie, I think. It's called Paprika. Have you heard of it?
I have. I've actually been wanting to see it. Paprika is a movie, and it came out in 2006, and it is by a phenomenal director. It's and he's also the guy that wrote the script for it too, mind you, Satoshi Kon. And he also did another movie that I am have really great fond memories of, Perfect Blue, which came out in 1997. And it's another great movie. Both of them, actually all his movies, from what I remember, are very psychedelic. They're very trippy.
Yeah, I was going to say, this one, the Paprika, the one scene I saw there, I have a feeling it's going to be my closest experience to LSD that I will ever come to. Because if any of the other show is like that one scene, I don't know. I'll give you an example. So what happened in the scene is this guy pressed on this woman's abdomen and his hand went through the abdomen and he basically ripped herself out of it as if it was from a wrapper.
So that's his
me.
whole perspective on movies is great, but we'll get into that at another point. The genres for this movie are actually dementia, fantasy, horror, mystery, psychological, sci-fi, and thriller. Those are dementia. The genres for this movie. Yes.
How does dementia go into that? Well, I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Yep. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this week's choice. If you have any thoughts on it, if you feel like we missed something on this trip through Phantom Requiem for the Phantom, please let us know. You reach out to us anywhere. You can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com. But the best place to really talk to us and get a hold of us is actually on our Discord server. The link for that is in the show notes. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment on there. I'd be happy to respond to you as well. And until next time, I'm Jack.
And I'm Rick. And we'll see you next time.